Welcome to today's 5-minute Bible study in the book of James. We're still in James chapter 2, today looking at verses 25 and 26. These are the last two verses of chapter 2. Now this concludes the section we started yesterday where James was talking about the relationship between faith and works, or faith and deeds. And James makes it quite clear that authentic, genuine faith always demonstrates itself in good works or in good deeds. He sees that relationship between faith and works as vital. He even says that faith without works is really dead. Now, there have been some who said, well, James is not really committed to salvation by faith in the same way as Paul. But that's not true. He was. James believed with all of his heart, just like Paul, we're saved by faith and by faith alone. That's why he quotes the same verses the Apostle Paul from Genesis. Abraham believed God, and it was credited to him as righteousness. He uses the same verse for salvation by faith that the Apostle Paul uses. So James was just as committed to the doctrine of salvation by faith alone as the Apostle Paul. That is the biblical understanding of salvation. It's just that James wanted to make certain we understood that true saving faith always is demonstrated in the fruit of good works and of deeds. That's what he meant by using the example of Abraham. And Abraham believed, and he also demonstrated his belief in obedience, even his willingness to offer Isaac on the altar, knowing that God would deliver Isaac, as of course he did. Now, as he concludes the chapter and this discussion, James has one more example or one more illustration of how faith is demonstrated in works. So that's in verses 25 and 26. Now, in the same way refers back to Abraham, in the same way that Abraham's faith was shown in good works, in the same way was not even Rahab the prostitute considered righteous for what she did when she gave lodging to the spies and sent them off in a different direction. So he uses the example of Rahab. Now, remember, Rahab lived in the city of Jericho, and when Joshua was about to besiege the city, you remember when Joshua led the children of Israel across the Jordan River, they're ready to begin possession of the promised land. Jericho is the first city they're going to take. And Joshua sent a couple of spies into Jericho to see the situation. And they stayed at the lodging place of Rahab. She knew who they were. And when the authorities of Jericho came looking for them, she hid them and helped them escape. And she told them that she had come to believe that the God of Israel was the true God. She recognized the God of Israel was God. She had heard about all he had done for the Israelites. She knew that he was God. In other words, she had faith. She believed in God. She believed in the God of Israel. She believed in the true God. And thus she protected the spies. And of course, she made them promise, when you take Jericho, because I know God's going to give Jericho into your hands, please save myself and my family, which of course they did. And Rahab and her family became part of the Israelite community after that. They became part of the people of Israel, part of the people of God. But the key here is that Rahab believed in God. She had faith in the God of Israel. Even though she was raised in Jericho, raised in a pagan environment, raised among those who worshiped false gods, she believed that the God of Israel was the true God. She put her faith in him. And her faith was demonstrated by her works. She protected the spies. She kept them safe. She helped them escape. Her faith and her works went together, but it was her faith that saved her. So he uses those two illustrations, faith and works. Abraham and Rahab, both of whom were saved by their faith, faith demonstrated by their works. And he concludes by saying, as the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without deeds is dead. A body that has no spirit is a corpse. It's lifeless. And so if you have faith, but no deeds with it, it's a lifeless faith. It's an inauthentic faith. It is the faith that saves us. But true faith, genuine faith, demonstrates itself, authenticates itself in works of obedience to God. So James makes it quite clear to us with the example of Abraham and of Rahab that saving faith always shows the fruit of good works, good deeds in obedience to God whom we believe in. Hope you join us tomorrow as we start looking at chapter 3 in our 5-minute Bible study in the book of James.